Hello everyone, and welcome to Turn Zero Lost. Today we are looking at the white color identity of the new set, Phyrexia All Will Be One. And we have some thoughts we'd like to say about this color pie, section of the color pie. We'll start with our favorites here. My personal favorites from this set, Skrull's Hive and Phyrexian Vindicator. Phyrexian Vindicator is a card that I like a lot, because it gives you a cool build around. I've actually planning to build a deck around this card, which is sort of like a kind of like a stuffy doll deck, but with more stuffy dolls. And yeah, and then Skrull's Hive is almost as good as Bitter Blossom, but arguably better sometimes as well if you get corrupted.
Why don't you kind of read what the cards are? Give us an idea what we are supposed to be looking at here.
So Skrull's Hive is 1 and a white for an enchantment that reads, at the beginning of your upkeep, lose 1 life and create a 1/1 colorless Phyrexian Might artifact creature token with Toxic 1, and this creature cannot block. It also has Corrupted. As long as an opponent has 3 or more poison counters, creatures you control with Toxic have lifelink.
So this is basically White's answer to Bitter Blossom, is what I'm getting out of this card.
Yes, minus the tribal sub-super type. I think this is a busted card.
I like this card a lot. I'm very high on it.
Mm-hmm. And then the Phyrexian Vindicator.
Phyrexian Vindicator. Phyrexian Vindicator is 4 white. Phyrexian Horror. It has flying, and if damage will be dealt to Phyrexian Vindicator, prevent that damage. When that damage is prevented in this way, Phyrexian Vindicator deals that much damage to any other target. It's a 5/5 as well.
Yeah, that's pretty good in your Winota deck.
Yeah, I can just kind of attack with this and then just punch people in the face. It's wonderful.
Simple things. All right. Shall it be myself next?
Yes, David, what are your favorites from this set?
All right. So my favorites from this set are White Sun's Twilight and the Eternal Wanderer. I'll go over each one of those cards in a bit of detail here. So we'll start with White Sun's Twilight. So it is a X white sorcery that reads, you gain X life, create X 1/1 colorless Phyrexian Might artifact creature tokens with Toxic 1, and this creature can't block. If X is 5 or more, destroy all other creatures.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, this card is actually just a better Martial Coup, hands down. Like, it's just so much better, actually, because the creatures you get out of them are significantly more robust. I guess the question is, like, what do you guys feel? How does this compare to White Sun Zenith? Because
substantially better.
I don't really know if it's that much better. I'll be honest with you.
It's only slightly better, personally.
I honestly, they're kind of equal to me, because like Zenith is an instant speed, and you can put it back in the library pretty much for free.
That's true.
Where you don't really get that with White Sun's Twilight. But this card is still very strong. I think any token deck wants this, especially partnered with Skrelv, as I'm sure we'll discuss later. But like, this thing is just an absolute powerhouse, and I imagine this is going to be quite the bomb in Limited.
Oh yeah.
I think it's better than White Sun's Zenith, simply because it has the Wrath effect.
I could see it, but the fact that you can't cast it at instant speed normally is kind of what holds it back for me.
The sorcery speed of this one definitely kind of drags it down as compared to I think that's the case with all the Zeniths in this case, or all the Twilights in this case.
I'm looking at this from like a Wrath perspective. Most Wraths are sorcery speed anyway, and that you get to Wrath and then also come out on top of it. Because generally you're gonna cast it for 4 to only gain 2 life. Because if you have 4 mana, you likely have more than 4 mana. This is your top end of your curve. So I would treat this more as like a 6/7 cost rather than than anything below X is equaling 5. So I treat this more as a Wrath with upside than just a general token generator.
I guess that's fair. I mean, I don't know. I think this is undoubtedly a limited bomb. I know when I play sealed to this sort of format later on, this is definitely going to be a card I'm looking out for. It's really strong and can very easily end games. Mm-hmm. We'll move on now to the next card on my list, which is the Eternal Wanderer. It is a 4 white legendary planeswalker. Bet you guys didn't see that one coming. And it has a static ability, so I guess really didn't see that coming. No more than one creature can attack the Eternal Wanderer each combat. So it has like a little crawl space effect, which makes it very safe. So the +1 loyalty effect is exile up to one target artifact or creature. Return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of that player's next end step. Its 0 loyalty effect is to create a 2/2 white samurai token with double strike. Really good.
Effectively a 4/4.
Yeah. Yep. And its -4 effect for each player, choose a creature that player controls. Each player sacrifices all creatures they control not chosen this way. And it comes in at 5 loyalty for the record.
Oh my gosh.
And it doesn't have a completed ability because thank God they didn't complete the Wanderer.
Oh god, yeah, really. This card is awesome. Like, she's 6 mana, so she's expensive to cast, but I think this is like this reminds me a lot of Elspeth Sun's Champion.
That was exactly what I was going to compare it to.
Yeah, this card feels a lot like Elspeth Sun's Champion, and I feel like it's gonna. I don't know if it's gonna make similar waves in Standard like that card did because the formats are just so much different. But like, this is still very robust. It does a lot. It's powerful. It's not like busted powerful. Certainly not like a lot of the static walkers usually tend to be. So I'm very much in favor. I think this is actually the one static walker I actually like. So well done, Wizards. You found one.
I mean, honestly, it's just a really versatile card.
Yeah.
Like the blink, or is that flicker effect?
That is a flicker effect.
So it's like the flicker effect. I think is very versatile in a lot of decks because Wizards is really kind of obsessed with ETB triggers. Especially considering that Elish Norn, Mommy of Machines, is now in this format as well. So it's a very good card, and just like all the abilities are good. The pseudo ult is great. I like it a lot.
The thing I think I actually like the 0 ability at best because like being able to put out a 2/2 with double strike in limited is exceptionally strong. Yep. You know, it's an effect that I don't think I'd pay 6 mana for it on its own, but it's ridiculously, like, the fact that this card is just so versatile absolutely makes it a bomb. And again, it's one I'm going to be on the lookout for come draft time. So yeah, super happy about these 2 cards.
Yeah, time for cards that you guys one card that you're probably not too happy about. What's my favorites here? So one of my favorites is Mondrak Glory Dominus, or Dominus. That's probably how it is. It is a legendary creature, Phyrexian Horror, for 2 white. It's a 4/4. And if one or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many of those tokens are created instead. And then you could pay 1 Phyrexian white, sacrifice 2 other artifacts and or creatures, and you put indestructible counter on this creature.
So, this is such a gross card.
Yeah.
Anointed Procession on a stick.
But it can become better than it on a stick because it'll be indestructible.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very solid effect in white, and it leans into what white's already kind of been known for a lot already. And the fact that you can very easily get to that ability to make it indestructible. It's not hard to keep this thing on board, but most people are going to want to kill this thing on sight as soon as it enters, because if you have this anywhere in your deck, it's definitely going to see a lot of hate. Same with like the whole cycle of these pseudo gods. That's what I'm going to refer these as. Is they're basically like pseudo Phyrexian gods because they can all become indestructible with a condition.
As far as I'm concerned, they are gods, just without the creature typing.
Yep.
The big thing is there's so much token generation in white. So even if you're looking at this purely from like a limited perspective or like a draft format, they're like that's one of white's really big things. They make a lot of tokens.
Yeah.
And this is right at 4, and
pulling this card in limited, basically you're going to be drafting anything that makes tokens.
You're forcing white.
Yeah.
You're literally forcing white. It does not matter like what else you get in your pool. If you have this card, you are playing white, and there's nothing else that can be said about it.
Especially at 4 mana. If this was 6, I could see it kind of being like the top end of your curve, and you just trying to go for the win. But at 4 mana, this is extremely playable in a lot of decks.
It's extremely efficient and doesn't need very much color fixing to get on the board. So in limited, it's going to be a pretty heavy hitter, and I'm sure it's going to start leaking its way in whenever the set's fully started circulating. It's going to leak its way into Commander for sure. People are going to want this card, and they're going to want ways to abuse it.
Yeah, it'll quadruple your tokens when you have Anointed Procession and it out.
Yes, absolutely. The next card that I believe is not only good for Commander, but also good for just limited, modern, even like any sort of format that can run it, is Skrelv Defector Might. It costs 1 white mana. It's a legendary artifact creature, Phyrexian Might. It's a 1/1 with Toxic 1. To explain what Toxic 1 does, for those unaware, players dealt combat damage by this creature also get a poison counter. So it's on top of the damage, it gets that. Skrelv Defector Might can't block, so you can only attack with this. You can pay a white Phyrexian, so 2 life or white, to tap it, choose a color. Another target creature you control gains Toxic 1 and Hexproof from that color until the end of its turn. Until end of turn. It can't be blocked by creatures of that color this turn. That's a lot of text for a 1-drop.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy that not only do you get this really strong counter starter, but you also get like a Mother of Runes-esque effect.
That's actually what I was going to compare it to, because there's a lot of talk that this is going to enter Death and Taxes in Modern.
I could see it.
Gives it a redundancy and a pretty strong Toxic and Hexproof
clock,
which is it's like that. And that's not going to be the game plan of Death and Taxes, because that's not the way Death and Taxes works. It's like still that amount of casual damage that you're putting in, and it can also protect your other creatures, like your Thalia's other hate cards in Death and Taxes.
I see this affecting the Hammer Time decks quite a bit, actually.
I had heard that too.
Hammer Time will love this card simply for the fact that rather than paying a mana to activate its ability, you just pay 2 life. So it's really that much of a cost. And to give it hexproof is extremely beneficial, especially if you are facing, which most time in Modern you're not facing a monocolor deck, but if you're facing a deck that heavily carries removal in a certain color, it can definitely impact the game a lot more.
You know what its ability actually reminds me of? It's similar to a protection, like gives a protection from a color.
Yep. Because
a lot of these abilities read that way.
Yeah, it might as well say give protection from a color. But I think the only reason why they keyword it like that is
because protection is gone at this point.
Yeah.
It's only in non-standard sets, really.
Yeah.
Yep. So overall, I love this card, and I kind of want to build a deck around it because I love small creatures. We're going to talk about these as we continue through this these set reviews and talking about these, but I just love small dudes that have very little chance to do anything, but can sometimes rise up and really surprise the table. Overall, though, I'd say that on my thoughts on the white color in this set, they definitely leaned into that token generation for this, and they decided to exploit the hell out of that toxic ability.
Yeah, it's a lot of my tribal payoffs, but it's I mean, really, actually, looking at the set as a whole, you have a mandible that just a car. Whenever an artifact enters the battlefield, mandible Gesticator gets +1/+1, and all of those mites are artifact creatures, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, they are.
Yep.
So that's a Phyrexian cleric too.
Yeah, so that's some payoffs. There's a lot of just like synergy in white from what I'm seeing. The only thing that actually really stands out to me that doesn't really fit in this set, well, it can because there's equipment in the set, is Kemba Ka Enduring. What that does is whenever Kemba or another cat enters the battlefield under your control, attach up to one target equipment you control to that creature. Equipped creatures you control get +1/+1, and has 3 generic white to create a 2/2 cat creature token.
Yeah, this card really doesn't seem like it fits here. Like, it almost feels like it was like an inclusion for Modern, but I don't really know how on earth this could be played in Modern, because Cat Tribal isn't exactly an archetype that exists.
Yeah, I think the only thing that it would be good for is for Hammer Time. Again, another card for Hammer Time. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Cast this for 2. You have your was it the Elephant Warhammer, something like that. That's the namesake card. Bring that in and
Loxodon Warhammer.
Loxodon Warhammer. That's what it was. Yeah, you bring that in, and then this equips to it right away. It doesn't have haste though, so it's kind of the only thing that makes it a little less good.
Yeah, but it's like for like a limited or standard environment, I don't really think it's that great, because again, like, there's not a lot of equipments. There's some, and a few of them are probably going to come up at some point, but there's not many. It's not like a super strong archetype. So
based on what I'm seeing, there are three equipments in white, and then there are 1, 2.
There's a lot of equipments in other colors, so it's not like just focused in white, but
sure.
There's enough equipment to justify
there are only
it.
2 cats. 2 cats in white.
The cats are, I think it's mainly focused on that cat token generation.
Sure.
Which, again, token generation, another focus in this.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah.
Do we want to ask about the Elish Norn in the room?
Yeah, I think we probably should talk about it.
Okay. I personally don't think it's actually as bad as people are making it out to be.
I just think people hate Torpor Orb.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a rough ability. Don't get me wrong. Like, I would hate to play against it. However, it's not impossible to kill.
Yeah, I actually don't think this card is even like top 5 in the worst for this set. I just don't. I think there's just so much out there that's worse that we're surely going to talk about it at some point. But yeah, Elish Norn, this particular iteration is strong, but it's beatable.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's better than the original Elish Norn, to be honest.
No, I wouldn't either. That card is far more impressive than this.
Yeah,
but
do you think it's the strongest of the new Phyrexian Praetors?
I think the new Vorinclex is probably stronger than this.
I'd say the Jin Cataxius is also more strong than this.
You could argue Jin Cataxius, but I'd probably side with you on that.
And hell, even Shieldred's more impactful than this, because Shieldred costs 4 mana.
Shieldred is a menace.
Man, why does Urbask always get shafted when it comes to these?
Because he's the Praetor that betrays people.
Yep. Well, you're right.
I am an Urbask stand, and it hurts to see my boy get hurt.
Same.
He's just trying to help the humans.
Help is a...
It's all a matter of perspective.
But yeah, that I think that kind of wraps up our thoughts on here. Any last leaving comments before we close it out here?
White is abnormally strong, and I think a lot of people are going to draft it. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, that's fair. It's kind of... I think this is Wizards' overcorrection of white continuing.
Yeah, I just realized something. There is also a On Thin Ice, but for a basic land in ossification.
Oh, yeah.
There's no way to deal with that effectively in this format. In limited or sealed, like, that's effectively a 2-mana exile card.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a couple things that... Because, I mean, you've got Vanish into Eternity that helps non-land permanents, but there's not really much that can deal with non-land permanents easily.
So I think that actually leads into the end. Wizards, print more land destruction.
Yes, please.
More land hate.
Reprint strip mine, you cowards. Okay, I'd like to thank everyone for listening on this episode. We'll have a bunch more of these videos over the next couple days. of the other colors and our set review as a whole. So please stay tuned and keep an eye out. Please like, share, and subscribe, and thank you very much.